So the breaking news this morning, Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Israel. His visit comes at another critical moment for the region. There are growing concerns the Gaza ceasefire is on shaky footing. The New York Times is now reporting from several Trump officials, speaking on a condition of anonymity, that there is concern within the administration that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu may vacate the deal. The ceasefire did survive its first major test over the weekend when 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in Gaza, and Israel responded with deadly airstrikes. That flare-up led to, well, a new warning from President Trump to Hamas.
They're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that. If they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
Let's talk about where things stand right now. Joining me right now is retired Army Major Mike Lyons. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. So this is kind of like a line that isn't, it maybe shouldn't yet be overly defined, if you will. Where is the point of no return in terms of violating a ceasefire? You've got this major test from over the weekend, but in your experience, at what point do you think Israel would go back in? As the fear is that Netanyahu may want to vacate the deal and go back in, and Hamas would then start back up.
Good morning, Kate. This is the tenuous part of this plan, the ceasefire plan, that Trump really used leverage to coerce Hamas to sign it. And phase 2 now includes governance, them giving up their weapons, and international force coming into play to reinforce this. If you look at history, only times when you've had this reinforcement of security to make sure the ceasefire holds. If it doesn't, it just turns into a pause that in this case, again, the Israeli military likely has the advantage over. So Trump wants this to succeed. He sent this team to go there. He's looking for more leverage to impart upon Hamas in order to maintain their part of the deal. But they don't control some of the smaller units that are out there still antagonizing the Israeli forces. I think the United States has got to tell Israel that they have to let this go on for many more days and likely weeks in order to reinforce this situation before they decide to go back in full force.
And when you think of reinforcing the situation and getting it to hold, I had retired Admiral James Stavridis on yesterday, and he said that the key, in his view, for the Gaza peace plan to actually succeed is U.S. troops. Let me play this, how he explained it.
It is U.S. troops as leverage, a small number of U.S. troops, Kate, in the context of previous deployments of 150,000 troops to Iraq or 100,000 troops to Afghanistan. No, but 3,000 U.S. troops, a lot of them offshore on warships to operate helicopters, a lot of them doing the back office work. You could use those 3,000 U.S. troops as leverage to get 30,000 Arab troops to patrol Gaza.
Is there any way around that? What do you think of that?
Well, there's the operative word again, leverage. I think that the Admiral has a great point. We can't have U.S. troops on the ground there. That would immediately invoke mission creep and all of the mistakes that the United States has made in the past 20 years. But Egypt becomes the indispensable nation here, leading the security forces of those Arab nations on the ground. And we show the Arab countries that, look, the United States is already in support of this mission. We already have those sailors and Marines out in the Mediterranean, out supporting this mission. They have been Israel's ally. So to say that the United States is not invested with its troops and its sailors doesn't make any sense. We just have to make that much more known. We just don't believe we should put any U.S. troops on the ground there. That would invoke a lot of bad things that the United States has not a great history of.
Yeah, I think Stavridis agrees with you on that one. When you've got this great framing today of kind of leverage and where it stands, let's apply that to the latest developments with Russia and Ukraine. You've got the president seeming now to go back to being more in line with Russian thinking once again after his latest call with Putin. We've seen this kind of pendulum swing or head fake, whatever you want to, whiplash, whatever you want to call it, so many times at this point. So many times now saying, that he sees Ukraine ceding some territory to Russia and that the battle lines, his newest take seems to be that the battle lines should freeze. Where is the leverage here at this moment?
Well, Kate, I don't think Trump feels the leverage in Ukraine like he felt it in Gaza. And because of that, he's willing to make these concessions. And he's hesitating. He recognizes that the Tomahawk cruise missiles are not this leverage point that will make Russia negotiate. And he somewhat gave away the game when he first met with Zelensky a few months ago. And he said, you don't have the cards. So the only leverage that the United States has there is with economic sanctions and pouring in military equipment. We'd have to pour in hundreds of Tomahawk cruise missiles in order for Russia to pay attention to that, not 4 or 5 like we did with some of the Patriot batteries that are there. Logistical support and sanctions by the other European countries would help. But I think Trump looks at that as that's too long a solution. He wants to get to an end game there quickly, as he speaks to all the time, but he knows he doesn't have the same leverage. So he's hesitating, looking for Zelensky to give up. He's given up that battlefield leverage if he does that because he just wants to get a deal done.
Yeah, the funny thing is you've got that bipartisan sanctions bill on Capitol Hill that they are now once again, even though they suggested they were going to be moving forward with it just yesterday, now suggesting that they're going to pump the brakes on it once again, which you wonder what message they received from the White House on that one. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. John.